Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And what I'm doing is I am going through some backlogs of C90s that I never did videos on, and surprising enough, I don't think I've ever done a character guide on Lightning, which is crazy because as you can tell, my Lightning is pretty darn fully invested and I really, really like Lightning. So we've got a 5 out of 5 Ultima weapon here, and we've got blue armor, so I am going to do a guide on Lightning, and Lightning does have a little bit of nuance to her play. She isn't as straightforward as other characters. There's a lot of ways, like, a player can really optimize Lightning, or you could kind of play poorly and, like, still get through with Lightning, but if you really know how to play her, you can really get the most out of her. She is a very fast, turn-steely type character, so understanding how to play her, I think, is definitely going to help some players out. So in this video, we are going to go ahead and we're going to look at her best artifacts, we're going to look at her spheres, and then talk a little bit about how to play her in general, right? The first thing is Lightning does have a Mannequin Weapon, so I just want to showcase that really quick. So it's this weapon right here. This weapon can be acquired by, once again, finishing Act 2, Chapter 5, and then when you go to Chapter 5.8, you should be, like, literally there's a whole chapter that just has all the Mannequin Weapons in it, so it'll be pretty hard to miss. But when you get in there, that's where those Mannequin Weapons are, so make sure you get them. It does add 10% Brave damage to Skill 1 and Skill 2, which is actually quite notable. You do want that, so it is a very good notable weapon to grab, right? So that's her extra weapon. Let's go ahead and let's look at some artifacts. She's really basic, so just attack 108, max Brave 330. So the reason why max Brave is kind of important on Lightning, just because she does have a little bit of battery that comes off of her max Brave. And then obviously you want to attack because she's a damage dealer. So go attack max Brave there. And then for the spheres, there are, like, she has a ton of options, right? You basically, like most damage dealers, you want to focus on attack and Brave damage. I think max Brave is good on Lightning if you're comboing it with attack, but you want to make sure you're getting attack, right? So I think Arden is a pretty good one here because you get max Brave and attack in one sphere, which is really, really good. And then I actually really like King's Sphere, and King's LD is coming out, well, at the time I'm recording this, it's not out yet, but it could be. I'm not sure when I'm dropping this video. But King's LD, or King's LD is coming out really soon on Global on the day I'm recording this. So there might be a refinement shop in the co-op to get some King Spheres if you need one, or you might pick up King's EX and use the full A Sphere, but basically when the character breaks, it raises attack by 20%. That is a huge, that's, I think, the biggest attack buff you can get from a sphere. And the reason why this is particularly good on Lightning is she's one of those break, re-break characters. So, like, she can unbreak and then break again, and then she gets free turns on break. So she's one of those types of characters. So I think King Sphere is actually, like, she's a prime spot for this sphere. So if you like Lightning and really want to max her out, get that King Sphere. Very, very good. The other thing you can do, King Sphere does not stack with the same sphere, but if you really like King Sphere and want to go all in on attack, you can put a refined King Sphere and then a full King Sphere on. They're considered two different spheres. I did that trick with Freya when I did my Porum guide to get extra HP, so you can stack two of the same one as long as one is refined and one is not refined, because they are considered different spheres to the game. And then on the D slot, I think Hope is probably one of her better options because you're going to get max Brave and attack. So getting that combo of max Brave and attack is really good there. Once again, any D slot that Lightning can activate that's going to increase party, Brave, or attack in some way is probably going to be decent here. But I think Hope, I refined a whole bunch of Hope spheres because he's just one of the most useful D spheres in the game. I did do a sphere guide video if you guys want to check that out to figure out, like, which spheres you should be holding on to, which EXs should you hold on to, because maybe you want to refine extras later on, right? But Hope is one that I highly recommend you all hold on to. It's a very, very good sphere. Alright, so let's hop in. Let's do a little showcase here and see what we can't get done with Lightning. Whoops, I accidentally backed out too far here. So yeah, we'll just jump in with this team here. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to run Freya and Cissnei, just because Lightning is a very speedy character. So you could do the same thing with, like, Tidus. Some people did this with Tidus and Boss Rush. You can abuse these additional attack characters with a very speedy character like Lightning, right? So unfortunately, Freya's attack's going to come up second. So what I might do is, like, I don't know, I want to show you the proper Lightning opening. So Lightning's going to be taking a bunch of turns, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and put the LD on here with Cissnei to get her stuff going, and then we'll start talking through Lightning and kind of explaining what she does. Her kit is complicated in some ways, but in some ways not. So basically, Lightning has two stances. She's got the Commando stance, which is from Spark Strike, and then she's got the Ravager stance, which is from Flourish of Steel. Spark Strike and Flourish of Steel both have just base forms, and they have plus versions. Basically, what happens is like, if I'm in Commando stance for 2 turns, then I get 2 stacks, and then my Ravager stance will get the plus version. Then if I get that to 2 stacks, then the Commando stance will go to his plus version. So basically the idea is you want to stay in a stance for a couple turns to build stacks, and then get the plus version on the other one to get the better attack. Now, what happens here is Lightning, you can see, starts off with a free turn and a free skill use. I like to open with Spark Strike to get my Commando stance going, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you get Spark Strike Plus, it actually puts Lightning Resist down on the enemies. You also get that from the LD, I believe. So there's a couple ways to do Lightning Resist down. So what happens is the way they set up Lightning is they want you to open with Spark Strike, and then you can use Army of One. Now, the Army of One EX is really good because it does an unbreak and then breaks the enemies. And then you get the plus version of Army 1 from being in Commando stance. So you have to have Spark Strike has to go off before you do the EX. So you want to be in Commando stance typically before you do it. And then it does do a little bit of a delay. So let's go ahead and pop the EX next. So what you're going to see, it's going to do a lot of damage too. So we got the instant break, and then it's going to do a delay at the end. And it's a 2-turn delay if it's in the plus version. It's only a 1-turn delay otherwise, okay? So now, what I've got here is Lightning's got another free turn, another free skill use here, right? What I'm going to do is, normally I could like start comboing off here, but let's go ahead and let's just do the BT attack so you guys can all see that. So let's get the BT attack here. Her BT effect basically just does a bunch of buffs. So it's got a Brave damage up, it's got a Brave damage limit up, and it just further increases like stats against broken enemies. So it's not like the craziest BT effect, but it's good enough, and it does last 10 turns. The thing with Lightning's BT effect, you're usually not bringing her for that because she burns through it so quick. But doing a setup like this actually works really well for Lightning. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to have these 2 off-turn damage dealers just going crazy while Lightning steals a bunch of turns. So that's kind of the setup I'm going to do here on my next turn. And we're pretty much just going to melt through this Lufenia pretty quickly here. So let's go ahead and do Descending Dragon. And then what we'll do is we're just going to pop off. Now, the bad part about doing this setup, I will say this. The bad part about doing a setup like this is Lightning has to break to get her free turns. In this type of setup, Lightning really can't break because the off-turn damage dealers are doing too much. So maybe this wasn't like the best team to kind of showcase Lightning with. But I do like to show how like these really fast characters can really abuse these off-turn damage dealers, right? So I'll demo kind of what you would do with Lightning, but what's going to happen is my off-turn characters are probably going to end up stealing a bunch of her breaks, right? Let's go ahead and let's do Crushing Blow, which is the LD. So this is going to unbreak, so we're going to get the break there, right? And then it is going to give Lightning some free turns, basically, is what it does. Okay, we've already canceled the orb because we're doing so much range damage with these 2 off damage dealers here. Okay, so now what happens is Lightning, or she gets like free skill uses for a bunch of turns in a row. So what you do here is you can basically just kind of combo stuff off. So normally what you would do is you'd use this break reset slash. So you'd use this, and then what happens is Lightning is one of those characters where if she's on a free turn, she can't get back-to-back free turns. So use the break reset slash, and then you break and then get the free turn. Now, our off-turn damage dealers are preventing us from doing that, so that's fine. Let's just go into Spark Strike again. Okay, and do that. Yep, and go crazy. Okay, and then now you see since we did Commando for a couple of turns, now we have Flourish of Steel Plus. So now we can use the plus version of that. And this usually has very high turn rate, so it's very common for Flourish of Steel to pull her up front, which you can see with the plus versions, I think you do get pulled up front. So now we got a free turn from that because we got the plus version, right? Now you see Army of One reverted back to the normal, so normally I'd like to go back into Spark Strike first. The other thing too is that you can see the Brave attack and HP attack. Those will be, oh, you know what? I had my stances reversed. So Flourish of Steel is Commando stance, Spark Strike is Ravager stance. So everything I said, just reverse it. But the Spark Strike stance is the one you want to be in for Army of One. So you can see Army of One isn't the plus version. So if I wanted to get back into that, I could go back into Spark Strike. Now, Once again, because my off-turn damage dealers are stealing all the breaks, let's just do Crushing Blow again, because that's going to give me a break, and then I can just, like, keep my free turns going here. Which, you know, if you're doing a ton of damage like this, you can just spam the LD a lot. Obviously, what I could do, too, is I could go into Burst Phase, and you're going to get a ton of turns that way as well, which maybe that's what I should do. Let's just hop into a Burst Phase here. That way, I can just let the off-turn damage dealers do whatever. But you can see, now that we're back, we want to get back into Spark Strike stance so that we can use Army of 1+. So let's go Spark Strike again. And then this should put us in the correct stance now. Okay, and then you see Army of 1 will change to the plus. So we're in Ravager stance. So sorry, I said that wrong the first time. Spark Strike is Ravager, Flourish of Steel is Commando. In my head, I always had that reversed. I don't know why. But as long as you understand, like, the Spark Strike stance versus the Flourish of Steel stance. And then once again, you know, we've got the Lightning Resist down. And then Lightning is also, like, enchanting herself, obviously, right? So she's doing weakness damage, which is really good. And then, once again, she's just very fast. So when you look at her numbers, like, when you're looking at individual attacks, right? So let's go ahead and do a Spark Strike. You know, the damage isn't crazy, like, per attack. But because of how fast she is and all the attacks she can chain together, like, she does do quite a bit of damage. And then let's do Flourish of Steel plus. So basically, like, you dance in between the two. And then kind of when you see the plus version of the other one, that's kind of what you want to go for. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to Flourish of Steel again and try to get my Spark Strike plus up. So that you guys can see that, because I don't think I've shown that yet. Because that will also put the Lightning Resist down, but the LD does that as well. Yep, and then here's Spark Strikes plus, and it's going to be a little bit stronger. Some more dumps. Yeah, so 345k and then 100-something K splash there. Okay, and let's go ahead and LD attack. So yeah, that's pretty much Lightning. So she's not like the most busted, like, crazy damage dealer in the game, but she is a cool character. She can steal turns. She can unbreak, which is really cool. She's got lightning elemental damage with Imperil Enchant, right? So you can do all that fun stuff there. She does combo well with, you can see how she's comboing pretty well with these, you know, Cissnei and Freya doing their off-turn damage. There, like I said, there is a trade-off. Like, some would argue that she doesn't combo well with them because they are stealing her breaks. But honestly, like, for at least the garbage time stuff, like, you can still get your turns in just by spamming LD because you're not going to run out of skills, right? Now, if you're doing a more traditional situation where maybe the fight's harder, you actually legitimately need Lightning to steal the turns, then yeah, you might not combo her with characters that are going to steal attacks from her. I totally get that. But yeah, I just wanted to show, like, look how quick we just swiped through this Lufenia. And we're on, what, turn 8? And... yeah, there we go. They're already dead before I can get another attack with Lightning. So, there you go. That's basically Lightning. So, the main thing, just to let me recap here really quick. I typically, there's other ways you can open. Because, like, Flourish of Steel does put some, like, other buffs on that help her hit harder. So, some people like to open with that. But because you're getting the free turn into EX, I just like Spark Striking, go into EX from there. And then basically I'd go into, like, LD from there, get my 2 free skill uses. And then from there, I can decide if I want to combo AA and chain turns. You can do that. Otherwise, you let your other team members go. And then from turn to turn, you're basically just floating between your Commando and your Ravager stance. And I usually just try to set it up so that I'm in Ravager stance when my EX is ready. Because you really want the plus version of the EX because you're going to get a 2-turn delay instead of a 1-turn delay. So if you like speedy delay characters, like, Lightning is definitely good for you. So anyways, guys, hope this helps. If you have any other questions about Lightning, please let me know. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys all on the next one.